The tattoo was a red rose twisted into an infinity symbol, inked on the inside of a man's left wrist, and I had seen it exactly once before in my life, every single day on my mother's arm for 26 years. I was holding a glass of Barolo in my right hand, standing beside table 14 in the VIP section of Castellan, a restaurant in downtown Philadelphia where I had been waiting tables for 3 years. The man sitting at table 14 had ordered the wine 60 seconds ago. He was in his early 50s, silver at the temples, European suit, the kind of quiet authority that comes from being obeyed so often that asking is no longer necessary. His assistant sat across from him, reviewing documents on a tablet. The reservation was under the name Kessler. He reached for the glass, his left sleeve pulled back. And there it was, red rose, infinity symbol, left wrist. The exact design that my mother has carried on her skin since before I was born. The exact design I had asked her, about 100 times as a child, and received the same answer every time. It's a promise I made to someone a long time ago. My hand stopped moving. The glass was suspended between the table and my fingers, hovering, the way time hovers when reality fractures and the two halves don't fit back together. "Sir," he looked up. Blue-gray eyes. The kind of face that is handsome in the way that certain buildings are handsome, structured, deliberate, built to last. "Your tattoo." My voice was doing something I didn't authorize. It was shaking. "My mom has the exact same one, same design, same wrist." His hand froze on the table. The fingers that had been reaching for the wine went rigid. His eyes dropped to his own wrist, then came back up to my face, and I watched something happen behind those eyes that I didn't understand. A detonation, silent and total, like a building collapsing inward. He stared at me. I stared at him. The restaurant hummed around us. Silverware on. Porcelain, murmured conversations, the kitchen calling orders through the pass. But at table 14, the world had stopped. His fingers twitched. The wine glass tipped, fell, shattered on the white tablecloth. Red wine spread across the linen like a wound opening, soaking into the fabric, dripping onto the floor. Neither of us moved to clean it up. His assistant reached for napkins. The man didn't notice. He was looking at my face with the intensity of a man who is searching for something specific, not generally looking, but scanning, the way you scan a document for the one word that changes everything. "What is your mother's name?" The question came out raw, not polished, not controlled. The voice of a man who had been asking this question or wanting to ask it for a very long time. Camilla Medrano. His jaw tightened. Something moved across his face. Not recognition exactly, but the precursor to recognition, the moment before the key turns in the lock. Was her name ever Rios? Camilla Rios? My mother's maiden name. The name she never uses. The name I've only seen on old documents in a shoebox under her bed. "Yes, that was her maiden name. How do you know that?" He didn't answer. His eyes were still moving across my face, forehead, nose, jaw, the angle of my cheekbones. He was reading me the way you read something you wrote a long time ago and are seeing again for the first time. "When is your birthday?" "March 3rd, 1999. He closed his eyes. I watched his lips move silently, counting, calculating, doing the math that would either confirm or destroy whatever he was thinking. When he opened his eyes, they were wet. "Sit down." His voice broke on the second word. "Please, I need to tell you something." "Sir, I'm working. I can't." "Sit down, son." "Son." The word hit me like a fist. Not because of what it meant, I didn't understand what it meant yet, but because of how he said it. Like a man who had been holding a word in his mouth for 26 years and had finally found the person it belonged to. I sat down. In the VIP section of the restaurant where I worked, in my waiter's apron, with red wine soaking into the tablecloth, and a broken glass on the floor, and a billionaire looking at me like I was the answer to a question that had been destroying him for half his life. But before I tell you what he said, before I tell you about Philadelphia in 1998, and a laundromat on Frankfurt Avenue, and a red rose tattoo that two people got on a night when they believed they would never be separated, I need to tell you about my mother, because she is the center of this story. She has always been the center, and you need to understand what she carried before you can understand why she carried it alone. My name is Matias Medrano. I was born on March 3, 1999, at Temple University Hospital in Philadelphia. My mother was 22 years old, alone in the delivery room, no husband, no family, no one holding her hand when I arrived. She told me once, years later, that the nurse who helped deliver me asked if she wanted to call the father, and my mother said, "He doesn't know, and he can't know." The nurse didn't ask again. My mother, Camila, came to the United States from Puebla, Mexico in 1997. She was 21. She crossed the border with a group of 12 people led by a coyote who charged $2,000, which was every dollar her family had saved in 3 years. She arrived in Philadelphia because she had a cousin's address written on a piece of paper. The cousin had moved to Chicago 6 months earlier. Nobody told Camilla. She spent her first night in America sleeping on a bench in the Greyhound station on Filbert Street. She spent her first year cleaning offices, 5 buildings, 6 nights a week, $5.50 an hour, paid in cash because she had no papers and no options and no one to complain to if the pay was late or the hours were wrong. She lived in a room she rented from a woman named Rosario Vega in Kensington, a room with a mattress on the floor, a hot plate, and a window that looked out at a brick wall. She never complained. I know this because Rosario told me, years later, when I was old enough to ask about my mother's early years. "Your mother didn't complain, because complaining requires believing someone is listening," Rosario said. And nobody was listening. I grew up in Kensington. If you don't know Kensington, it's the part of Philadelphia that doesn't appear in the tourism brochures. Row houses with plywood windows, corner stores with bulletproof glass, streets where the ambulances come so often that the neighbors stop looking up when they hear the sirens. It's not a place where people build empires. It's a place where people survive, day by day, dollar by dollar, and the ones who make it out do so by a combination of stubbornness and grace that no one can teach because it comes from the particular kind of soil that only poverty provides. My mother raised me in a 2-bedroom apartment on East Allegheny Avenue. She worked days as a home health aide, bathing elderly patients, feeding them, turning them in their beds to prevent sores, driving her beat-up Toyota from house to house across North Philadelphia, 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. She made approximately $31,000 a year. She never missed a day. She never talked about my father, not once. When I was 6, I asked where my dad was. She said, "He's far away." When I was 10, I asked if he was dead. She said, "No, he's alive." When I was 12, I asked why he left. She looked at me with eyes that held something I couldn't identify, not sadness, not anger, something deeper, something sealed, and said, "He didn't leave, mijo. He was taken from us." I stopped asking. What I knew about my mother's past: she came from Mexico. She worked hard, she loved me. She had a tattoo on her left wrist that she touched sometimes when she thought I wasn't looking, the way people touch a scar or a rosary or a photograph of someone they lost. A red rose forming an infinity symbol, a promise she made to someone a long time ago. I assumed the tattoo was about my father. I assumed it was the only piece of him she kept. I assumed that whoever he was gone, and the tattoo was her way of keeping him close without saying his name. I was right about everything except the gone part. He wasn't gone. He was looking for us. Now let me tell you what the man at table 14 told me. Because his name was Bastian Kessler, and he had been searching for my mother for 27 years, and the only reason he hadn't found her was that she had made sure he couldn't. "My name is Bastian Kessler," he said. In 1997, when I was 24 years old, I came to Philadelphia from Germany. My family is the Kessler family, Kessler Werke, an industrial manufacturing company. You won't have heard of it unless you follow German industry, but it's one of the largest privately held manufacturers in Europe. He said this the way rich people say things about money when they're talking to people who don't have any, carefully, without emphasis, aware that the numbers create distance. I didn't come to Philadelphia to work for my family. I came to get away from them. I got a job at a machine shop in Kensington. I rented a room above a hardware store on Allegheny Avenue. I made $11 an hour. And I met a woman at a laundromat on Frankfurt Avenue who changed my life. Allegheny Avenue, the street I grew up on, the street where my mother still lived. This man had lived on the same street as my mother, 27 years ago, in the same neighborhood where I had taken my first steps. Her name was Camila Rios. She was 21. She cleaned offices at night. She was the bravest, most beautiful person I had ever met. And I loved her in the way that young people love, completely, stupidly, with no understanding of what the world would do to us. We were together for 6 months, January to June 1998. We got the tattoos in June. He held up his wrist, the rose, the infinity symbol. It was a promise. Wherever we go, whatever happens, this means we found each other. He paused. The restaurant noise continued around us. His assistant had quietly moved to another table, understanding, without being told, that whatever was happening at table 14 was not a business conversation. In July, my family found out about Camila. My oldest brother, Friedrich, came to Philadelphia. He told me to come home or be cut off from the family, every dollar, every connection, everything. And he did something else. Bastian's voice went hard, not angry, controlled, the way steel is controlled when it's being compressed. Without my knowledge, Friedrich went to Camilla's apartment and told her that if she didn't disappear, the family would contact immigration authorities. She was undocumented. She had no protection, no lawyer, no resources, and my brother, a man who was worth $2 billion, stood in a cleaning woman's apartment and threatened to have her deported if she didn't leave me. I felt something cold settle in my chest, the cold of understanding something you've spent your whole life not understanding. My mother's silence, her sealed eyes. He was taken from us. Not he left, he was taken. She disappeared, Bastian said. Overnight, changed her phone number, moved, left no trace. I searched for 2 weeks, then Friedrich physically brought me back to Germany. And you just went? I was 25 years old. My family controlled everything I had ever known. I had no money of my own, no career of my own, no identity outside of the Kessler name. I went because I didn't know how not to go. He looked at me. That's not an excuse, it's a fact, and I've spent 27 years living with the fact. You never found her? I hired private investigators, 3 firms. Over 20 years, I searched for Camila Rios, but she wasn't Camila Rios anymore. She changed her name to Medrano. When? When she got her legal status, 2005. She used a friend's family name. Bastian closed his eyes. Medrano. I was searching for Rios. She was living under Medrano, 20 minutes from the laundromat where we met, under a name I didn't know. And you never knew she was pregnant. He opened his eyes. The wet was there again. The eyes of a 52-year-old man who had just learned that his 25-year-old grief had a face, and that face was sitting across from him in a waiter's apron. No, he whispered. I never knew. Not until right now. Not until you said your birthday, and I counted the months, and I looked at your face, and I saw... He stopped. Swallowed. I saw me. I see me in your face, Matthias. The jaw, the eyebrows, the way you hold yourself. Slightly tilted, like the world is something you're studying before you decide how to approach it. That's me. That's how I stand. I looked at this man, this stranger, this billionaire in a European suit at a VIP table in the restaurant where I earned $42,000 a year carrying other people's food. I looked at him, and I did what he had done. I searched his face for the things that matched. The jawline, yes. The eyebrows, yes. The angle, the tilt. The particular way his left hand rested on the table. Fingers spread, palm down, grounding himself. I do that exact thing when I'm nervous. I need to talk to my mother, I said. I understand. I need to hear it from her. Of course. And I need you to answer one question. Anything. If you had known she was pregnant, if you had known about me, would you have stayed? The question sat between us. 26 years of absence in a single sentence. Yes, he said, I would have stayed. I would have lost everything, The name, the money, the family, everything, and I would have stayed. Because what I lost by leaving was worse than anything they could have taken from me. You don't know that. I know that I have spent 27 years building a company worth $4 billion, and none of it, not $1, not one building, not one achievement, has filled the space that your mother left. I know that I married a woman I didn't love because I couldn't find the one I did. I know that I have no children because I couldn't imagine having children with anyone other than her. And I know that I have a tattoo on my wrist that I have looked at every single day for 27 years. Not because I'm sentimental, but because it was the last promise I made that mattered, and I broke it by getting on a plane. I stood up. My legs were unsteady. The restaurant was still operating around us. Waiters moving, dishes clearing, the ordinary machinery of a Saturday night continuing without any awareness that at table 14, two strangers had just discovered that they were not strangers at all. "I'll call you," I said. "After I talk to her." "Matthias." "Yeah?" "Thank you for telling me about the tattoo. You could have said nothing. You could have served the wine and walked away. Most people would have. My mother always said that tattoo was a promise she made to someone. I just wanted to know who." I walked away from the table, through the restaurant, past Enzo at the host stand, who looked at me and said, "You okay? You look like you saw a ghost." Past the kitchen, where the line cooks were pushing out entrees and the dishwasher was running at full noise. Through the back door, into the alley, where the dumpsters were and the air was cold, and the sky was the particular dark purple of Philadelphia at night. I called my mother. "Mijo, it's late. Everything okay?" "Mom, I need to come over. Right now." "What happened? Are you hurt?" "I'm not hurt, but I need to talk to you about the tattoo." Silence. The specific silence of a woman who has been waiting for this conversation for 26 years and hoping it would never come. "Come," she said. "I'll make coffee." I drove to Kensington. 12 minutes from the restaurant, a straight shot up Frankfurt Avenue, the same avenue where my mother and my father had done their laundry at 11 p.m. 27 years ago. Both of them far from home. Both of them lonely. Both of them about to create a person who would drive this same road decades later with the taste of revelation in his mouth. My mother's apartment was on the second floor of a row house on East Allegheny Avenue. The same apartment I'd grown up in. The same kitchen where she taught me to cook rice. The same living room where I watched Eagles games on a television that was older than me. The same bedroom where I heard her crying some nights through the wall and didn't understand why. She was at the kitchen table when I walked in. Coffee was made. 2 cups. She was wearing her robe, her hair down, her left hand wrapped around. Her mug, the tattoo visible on her wrist, the red rose, the infinity symbol, the promise. I sat down across from her, looked at the tattoo, looked at her face, and I said, "I met him tonight, Mom, Bastian. He was at the restaurant." My mother's face did something I have never seen it do. It collapsed. Not slowly, not gradually, not in the controlled way that adults manage their emotions in front of their children. It collapsed the way a wall collapses when the last supporting beam gives out, all at once, completely, with a sound that was somewhere between a gasp and a cry and a prayer. She put both hands over her mouth. The coffee cup tipped. She didn't notice. Her eyes were wide and her body was shaking, and the tears came before she could stop them. 27 years of sealed silence breaking open at a kitchen table in Kensington at 11 p.m. on a Saturday night. "He found us," she whispered through her fingers. "He didn't find us, I found him by accident. He was at my restaurant. I saw the tattoo." "The tattoo." She touched her wrist. "After all this time, the tattoo." "Mom, he told me everything. About the laundromat, about the 6 months, about his brother, about the threat." I reached across the table and took her hand. "Why didn't you tell me?" She cried for a long time before she could speak. I let her. Some silences need to break on their own schedule, and 27 years of silence doesn't break clean. His family was powerful, Mijo. Not American powerful, European powerful. Old money, generations of it. His brother came to my apartment in July of 1998. I had just found out I was pregnant. 8 weeks. I hadn't told Bastian yet. I was going to tell him that weekend. What did Friedrich say? He said if I didn't disappear, he would call immigration. He knew I was undocumented. He knew I had no lawyer, no protection, no one to fight for me. He stood in my apartment, a man in a suit that cost more than my rent for a year, and he told me that I was a convenience for his brother and that the convenience was over. A convenience. His word, not mine. He said Bastian would forget about me in 6 months. He said I was nothing to the family. And then he said that if I tried to contact Bastian, or if I told him about the pregnancy, or if I showed up at any Kessler address anywhere in the world, he would personally ensure that I was deported to Mexico and that my child would be placed in the foster system. He threatened to take me. He threatened to take you before you were born, before you had a name, before you had a face. He threatened my child, and I believed him, because a man who controls billions of dollars can do things that the rest of us can't stop. So you ran. I ran. I changed my phone. I moved to a different part of Kensington. Rosario helped me. She gave me a place to stay. When I got my legal status in 2005, I used Medrano instead of Rios because I was still afraid that the Kesslers would find me and take you. Mom, that was 20 years ago. Fear doesn't expire, mijo. Fear doesn't look at the calendar and say, it's been long enough, you can relax now. I spent 27 years looking over my shoulder. Every time a man in a suit knocked on the door, every time I saw a car I didn't recognize parked outside, every time someone asked too many questions about my past, I felt it. The same fear, the same cold in my chest, the same certainty that they would come and take the only thing I had. Me? You. Everything I did, every office I cleaned, every patient I bathed, every dollar I saved, every night I came home exhausted and made you dinner and helped you with homework and fell asleep on the couch, I did it for you, to keep you safe, to keep you here, to keep you mine. And the tattoo? She looked at her wrist, touched the rose with her finger. The tattoo was the one thing I kept. Friedrich took everything else. My phone, number, my address, my name, my life with Bastian. But he couldn't take the tattoo. It was under my skin. It was part of my body. And every time I looked at it, I remembered that for 6 months in 1998 I was loved. Completely, honestly, by a man who didn't care where I came from, or how much money I had, or what language I spoke. He loved me in a laundromat at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday night, and the tattoo is the proof. He loves you still. She looked at me sharply. Mom, he spent 27 years searching for you. 3 private investigation firms. 20 years of looking. He never forgot you. He never moved on. He built a $4 billion company, and he told me tonight that none of it filled the space you left. She was quiet for a long time. The coffee was cold. The kitchen clock ticked. The sounds of Allegheny Avenue came through the window. A car horn, a distant siren, the particular nighttime soundtrack of a neighborhood that never fully sleeps. He wants to see you, I said. I know. Will you? I'm afraid. Of what? Friedrich? Mom, Bastian left his family. He built his own company. He's not under their control anymore. I'm not afraid of Friedrich. She looked at me. I'm afraid of Bastian. I'm afraid of sitting across from him and seeing the man I loved and knowing that I took 27 years from both of us. 27 years he could have known his son. 27 years you could have had a father. 27 years of birthday parties and school plays and homework and first days and last days and all the ordinary, irreplaceable moments that I stole from him because I was afraid. You didn't steal them, Friedrich did. Friedrich made the threat. I made the choice. You made the only choice you could. Did I? Her voice broke. Did I, Matthias? Or did I make the choice that was easiest for me? Disappear, hide, stay invisible, instead of the choice that was hardest. Fight, tell Bastian, trust him to protect us. I was 22 years old and pregnant and undocumented and terrified, and I chose to run. And running cost your father 27 years of knowing you existed. I held my mother's hand across the table, and I said the thing I had been building toward since I sat down. Mom, you were 22. Alone. Undocumented. Pregnant. A billionaire's son threatened to have you deported and take your baby. You did what any mother would do. You protected your child. You ran because running was surviving. And surviving was the most courageous thing you could have done. She squeezed my hand. The tears hadn't stopped. But something in her face changed. Not relief exactly, but the beginning of something that might, with time and care, become relief. "Will you see him?" I asked again. "Yes," she said. "It's time." They met on a Sunday afternoon in April 2025. Not at a restaurant, not at a hotel. At my mother's apartment on Allegheny Avenue, the same neighborhood where they had met, 27 years earlier. The same streets, the same laundromat, 3 blocks away, still operating. Still open at 11 p.m., still the place where 2 people had found each other across an ocean of difference. Bastian came alone. No assistant, no driver, no entourage. He wore jeans and a button-down shirt. He looked like a man who had spent several days deciding what to wear to the most important meeting of his life, and had chosen the closest thing he had to what he wore in 1998, when he was a machine shop worker making $11 an hour. I answered the door, let him inside, and left them alone, because whatever was about to happen in that kitchen was between a woman who ran and a man who searched, and their son had no place in the middle of it. I sat on the front steps of the row house. Allegheny Avenue moved around me, kids on bikes, a corner store closing up, a woman walking a dog that was too big for its leash, the ordinary life of a neighborhood that had been the backdrop of my mother's hiding and my father's absence, and the 27-year silence that a red rose tattoo had just shattered. I don't know exactly what they said. My mother told me later that they sat at the kitchen table, the same table where she and I had talked the night of the restaurant, and they looked at each other's wrists. Same tattoo, same ink, same promise, made in June 1998 by 2 people who believed they would never be separated. Wherever we go, whatever happens, this means we found each other. 27 years, 2 countries, 2 lives, 1 tattoo, and a waiter who happened to serve the right glass of wine to the right man on the right night. My mother said Bastian cried. She said she cried. She said they didn't touch, didn't hug, didn't hold hands, didn't try to recreate something that was 27 years old and couldn't be recreated because they were different people now. They just sat across from each other and told the truth, which was the one thing they had never been allowed to do. She told him about the pregnancy, about the delivery room at Temple, about raising me alone, about Kensington, about the fear. About every night she looked at the tattoo and remembered him. He told her about the search, about the 3 investigators, about the name change that had made her invisible, about building Kessler Dynamics and never feeling like it was enough because the thing he was really building toward, finding her, kept failing. "I would have stayed," he told her. The same words he said to me at the restaurant. "I would have lost everything and stayed." "I know," she said. "That's why I ran. Because you would have given up everything for us, and your brother would have destroyed you for it. I didn't run because I doubted you. I ran because I loved you too much to let them break you." That sentence. I ran because I loved you too much to let them break you. My mother had spent 27 years carrying the weight of a decision that was made out of love, not cowardice. She didn't run because she was weak. She ran because the only way to protect the man she loved and the child she was carrying was to disappear so completely that the people who wanted to destroy them couldn't find either one. Friedrich Kessler found out about the reunion in May. I don't know how. Bastian suspects someone at Kessler Dynamics mentioned his frequent trips to Philadelphia. Friedrich called Bastian for the first time in years. "I hear you found your Mexican cleaning girl." "I found Camilla, and I found my son." Silence. "You have a son. 26 years old. His name is Matthias. He has my face and his mother's courage, and he grew up in the neighborhood where you threatened his pregnant mother with deportation." Longer silence. "Bastian, whatever you're planning, I'm not planning anything, Friedrich. I'm living. Something you took from me in 1998 and I've spent 27 years getting back. Don't call me again." He hung up. told me about the conversation that evening, over dinner at Castellan, my night off, eating at the restaurant instead of serving at it, sitting at table 14, the table where it started. "Your uncle is not a good man," Bastian said. "He's not my uncle. He's a man who threatened my mother. He'll try to interfere. He'll try to control the narrative. It's what Kesslers do. They manage reputations. They control information. They keep the family story clean. Let him try. The story isn't his anymore." Bastian looked at me across the table, and for the first time since the wine glass shattered, he smiled. "You sound like your mother." "Good." Bastian didn't try to rescue us. I want to be clear about that because the version of this story that writes itself, billionaire finds long-lost son, showers him with money, fixes everything, is not what happened. What happened was more specific, more deliberate, and more respectful than a shower of money. He took care of my mother's medical situation. Immediately, completely, without discussion. Camilla had been diagnosed with stage 3 chronic kidney disease the previous year. Her insurance through the home health agency was minimal. The out-of-pocket costs were $1,200 a month that she didn't have. I had been covering $400 of it from my waiter's salary, and the rest was going on a credit card that was accumulating interest the way kidney disease accumulates damage, slowly, silently, and with consequences that compound. Bastian connected her with the top nephrologist at Penn Medicine. Full workup, treatment plan, medication, monitoring, covered entirely, not through charity but through a personal health trust he established in her name, funded in perpetuity, managed by his financial team. "This isn't a gift," he told me when I protested. "This is 27 years of responsibility I'm fulfilling. She raised my son alone because my family drove her into hiding. The least I can do is make sure she's alive to see what happens next." He offered me a position at Kessler Dynamics. The company was opening a new precision manufacturing facility in King of Prussia, 20 miles west of Philadelphia. He wasn't offering me a corner office or a vice presidency. He was offering me a spot on the production floor. Entry level, learning precision machining and manufacturing operations from the ground up. "This is where I started," he said. "Not at Kessler Dynamics, at a machine shop in Kensington. I learned manufacturing by standing at a lathe for 12 hours a day. If you want to understand what I built, you start where I started. What if I want to stay at the restaurant? Then stay at the restaurant. This isn't an order, it's an opportunity. You decide." I decided to take it. Not because of the money. The starting salary was $48,000, only slightly more than I made waiting tables. Because of the learning. Because I had spent 9 years carrying plates and I wanted to build something. Because my father built a $4 billion company starting from a machine shop floor, and I wanted to understand how. I started at Kessler Dynamics in June 2025. The King of Prussia facility is enormous. 180,000 square feet of precision manufacturing, CNC machines, quality control labs, the organized complexity of a place that makes components accurate to 1,000th of an inch. I wear safety glasses and steel-toed boots and a uniform with my last name on it. Medrano, not Kessler, because my mother's name is the one I grew up with and the one I'm keeping. I still wait tables 1 night a week. Thursday nights at Castellan, because Enzo asked me to stay and because the restaurant is where it started, and I'm not the kind of person who forgets where things started. The tips aren't bad either. Bastian visits Philadelphia every 2 weeks. He and my mother have dinner. Not romantic, not yet, maybe not ever, because 27 years is a canyon that can't be crossed with a single bridge. But they're building something. I don't know what to call it. It's not a reunion because you can't reunite with someone you never fully had. It's not a second chance because the first chance was stolen. It's something new, a relationship built in the wreckage of one that was destroyed, constructed carefully, brick by 2 people who are older and more cautious and more damaged than the kids who fell in love at a laundromat in 1998. My mother looks different. Not physically, although the medical treatment has improved her color and her energy. She looks lighter. The thing she was carrying, the secret, the silence, the 27 years of sealed eyes and locked answers, is gone. She told me last week that she sleeps through the night now for the first time in years. I used to wake up at 3 a.m. and check the locks, she said. I don't do that anymore. Why not? Because the thing I was locking out isn't outside anymore. He's here. And the locks were never keeping him out. They were keeping me in. Bastian and I are learning each other. Slowly, awkwardly, with the particular clumsiness of two men who are biologically father and son, but experientially strangers. He doesn't know that I like my eggs scrambled with hot sauce. I don't know that he reads philosophy books on the train. He doesn't know that I cried at the end of Coco because the grandmother's story reminded me of my mother. I don't know that he kept a letter he wrote to Camilla in 1998, unsent, undelivered, carried in his wallet for 27 years, that says, "Wherever I go, I'm still at the laundromat, waiting for you to come back." We're filling in the gaps. 26 years of gaps. It will take time, maybe the rest of our lives, but we have time now. That's the thing that Friedrich tried to take and couldn't. Time. He took the years, but he couldn't take the future. Last month, I got a tattoo. Same design, same wrist. Red rose, infinity symbol. I went to a shop on South Street and sat in the chair, and the artist asked what the tattoo meant. It means we found each other. Who's we? My family. 3 wrists now. My mother's, gotten in June 1998, in a tattoo parlor on Frankfurt Avenue, with a man she loved and was about to lose. My father's, gotten the same night, in the same chair, with a woman he loved and would spend 27 years searching for. And mine, gotten in August 2025, in a shop on South Street, by myself. Not because I was there the first time, but because I'm here now. And being here is the whole point. 3 roses. 3 infinities. 3 people who were separated by fear and wealth and power and silence, and who found each other because a waiter noticed a tattoo on a billionaire's wrist and said the 5 words that changed everything. My mom has that tattoo. I'm at Castellan right now, Thursday night, my 1 shift a week. Table 14 is occupied. A couple, on a date, drinking Barolo, the same wine that shattered on the tablecloth 6 months ago and spilled the secret my mother had been keeping for 26 years. I serve the wine, set the glass down. The woman notices my tattoo. That's beautiful. What does it mean? It's a promise. To who? To the people I love. It means wherever we go, whatever happens, we found each other. She smiles, takes a sip of her wine, returns to her date. And I walk back to the kitchen, through the restaurant where my life changed, past the spot on the floor where the red wine stained the grout, and Enzo couldn't get it out no matter how much he scrubbed, which is fine, because some stains are worth keeping. Now, I want to ask you something. What would you do if a stranger had a tattoo that matched your mother's? And that tattoo turned out to be the thread connecting you to a father you never knew, a love story you were never told, and a family secret that had been locked away your entire life. Would you pull the thread, or would you serve the wine and walk away? And here's the harder question. Have you ever discovered that the parent you thought you knew had a whole life before you? A love, a loss, a choice that shaped everything that they never told you about? And when you found out, did it change how you saw them? Or did it make you love them more? Because here's what I learned. My mother didn't hide the truth because she was ashamed. She hid it because she was brave. She hid it because a powerful man threatened her child, and she chose silence over safety, invisibility over identity, 27 years of carrying a secret over the risk of losing the only thing that mattered. She ran because she loved us too much to let them break us. And the tattoo, the red rose, the infinity symbol, the promise on her wrist, was never about the past. It was about the future. It was about the belief that somewhere, somehow, the promise would be kept. That the infinity symbol meant what it said. That love, when it's real, doesn't end, it just waits. It waited 27 years. And then a waiter noticed a tattoo. And everything changed. Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one. If this story reached somewhere you didn't expect, hit that like button. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Especially anyone who's been separated from someone they love by distance or fear or time, or the kind of power that thinks it can control who people love. It can't. Love waits, and tattoos don't lie. Comment your thoughts below and subscribe to the channel so you never miss another story. I'll see you in the next one.